As you can see, I recently had a cosmetic eyelid surgery done and I'm still very much recovering. At the moment, there's still a lot of swelling and things are looking a bit dramatic. At first, I wasn't sure about making this video because I am feeling quite delicate at the moment, and I also don't want to send the wrong message about appearances and cosmetic surgeries, but I thought I should document this part of my journey. So I was born with monolids, which means having no creases on my eyelids. So the whole idea of having this surgery or blepharoplasty is to create the creases, therefore giving the impression of having bigger eyes and a more awake face. For a long time, this had been on my bucket list, as superficial as that might sound. Even as a teenager, I already decided I wanted something doing, but I should clarify that I never desired to look like someone else. My intention has always just been to look more alert and expressive and not having to rely on my makeup or eyeliner as much on a day-to-day basis. It was the same with braces. I always knew I want to have straight teeth, so as soon as I started making a living, I went straight to see the orthodontist. In fact, I had braces done twice because I couldn't wear my retainers when I was pregnant because of the morning sickness. Throughout the years, eyelid surgery remained on my bucket list, but I didn't feel like I could just go for it. Because for me, eyelid surgery is not as socially common compared to braces. In fact, in the past, children resisted having braces, but now they look forward to having it. It's almost like a trend. And I know that because I refer a lot of them in my practice to the specialists. With eyelid surgery, however, we are talking about having a lot of bruising, swelling, and looking like a different person for a while. You certainly get a lot more questions and attention. So I always felt like I had to find the right time to do this. And after a lot of planning and some work arrangement, I decided to finally make it happen. This kind of procedure is fairly common and very well established in certain Asian countries, such as Korea and Taiwan, but I decided to have it done here by an oculoplastic surgeon because I think aftercare is really important for any kind of medical procedures. I just feel better when my surgeon is not thousands of miles away, especially when I'm healing and recovering. On the day of the surgery, I was a bit nervous, but the procedure was done quite quickly. It took about an hour. All along, I was more worried about the recovery rather than the surgery itself. I'm someone with quite slow metabolism, and I'm also very prone to swelling whenever I have anything done. In the first few days after the surgery, the pain was actually minimal, but the swelling was very visual. It was to be expected anyway, so I didn't think much of it until I started having infection. The swelling on my left eye was so severe that my vision was restricted. On the same week, I came down with a very bad flu and I was also on my period. So it's fair to say I looked and felt like a mess. Now YouTube don't really like us posting any content that's visual or alarming. But if you're interested, please let me know and I might include some photos on my blog. And that's why I love having my own website because I have complete control over what I want to post. And a quick mention about our sponsor today, Squarespace. I use Squarespace to build my website because it's so easy to use. I love that I never have to worry about any technical issues like plugins or updates. Everything is taken care of by Squarespace behind the scene, and I can just focus on creating my content. They also have an amazing selection of templates for everything, whether it is for building a community, opening an online store, showcasing a professional portfolio, creating a blog, and so on and so forth. Go to Squarespace for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/colourfulnoir to save 10% when you purchase your first website or domain. Continuing with my story, eventually with more antibiotics, the infection cleared. But even now, my left eye feels more swollen than my right one. I can certainly feel more pressure on this side, especially in the morning. I also have more scarring tissues on the left eye compared to the right eye. And every time I try to look up, it feels like the scarring tissues are restricting the movement. So at the moment, because of all this, things are not symmetrical. I've been told this is not uncommon during this early stage. I'm about 4.5 weeks, 5 weeks post-op. But let me tell you, I'm constantly looking at myself in the mirror. I wish I could say it was a smooth sailing, but it has been really testing. And that's why I wanted to share this video and my raw emotions, because it might help to give some insights to anyone who is interested in having any enhancement procedure done. The truth is, I didn't expect it to affect me as much as it did. When I went back to see my surgeon with the infection, I cried the entire appointment. Like, that's just not me. I usually try to contain myself, but on that day, I was just a very vulnerable patient with a lot of worries. I just felt so overwhelmed with everything. At home, things haven't been rosy either. Many times I feel disheartened about the slow recovery. Sometimes I don't feel like myself. You see, usually I'm quite driven and focused, and I like to get on with things. But in the last few weeks, I don't exactly feel that way. I'm quite conscious about making eye contact. I avoid social events as much as I can, and even filming this video takes quite a bit of courage. Like I said, I did some work arrangement for this, so at the moment I'm still on my break, which I'm really thankful for. But when I'm on my own and in my own space, I find myself always imagining the worst case scenarios, like what if the swelling never goes away? What about the scarring? And what if things don't look symmetrical? Even my surgeon said I'm starting to become a bit too pessimistic about the situation. This is very much out of my character, but that's just how I feel at the moment, and I don't want to sugarcoat my real emotions. Typically, things take about 3 to 6 months to really settle, but considering I had quite a nasty infection, it could potentially take longer. You know, it's one thing to understand the science, but it's quite another to go through it. But at the moment, I'm doing my best to try to stay patient. Part of me certainly wish I could just fast forward the healing process. But as crazy as it might sound, I don't regret my decision. Before the surgery, I did a lot of thinking to make sure this is something that I want. Especially after minimalism, I try to be mindful with all my spendings and life decisions. I also left a 7-month gap between the first consultation and the surgery, so I can certainly say this is not a decision that I made lightly. And I tell my husband the same. You know, he always tells me that he loves me the way I am and I don't need anything doing. It's really sweet of him, but it didn't make me change my mind. And luckily for me, he's been so very supportive. Even when I look like a mess, he really looked after me. Anyway, after minimalism, I've regretted buying a lot of things, including some supposedly holy grail handbags. But I've never regretted having braces or going to see the dermatologist for my acne or acne scars. This procedure kind of feels the same, but I just wish it was a bit more straightforward. Now, I do want to point out that having all these procedures done doesn't mean I don't like myself or I'm trying to become someone else. It's more about creating a version of me that I like more. I see this as working on my physical appearance. It's like how I also put effort into my well-being to create a better version of myself. For example, doing yoga, eating healthy, improving my art, reading more, being more appreciative, and so on. Obviously, having a cosmetic surgery is a much bigger commitment than making yourself eat more vegetables. It's also completely non-discretionary in many cases. So I don't want to sound like I'm encouraging anyone to have cosmetic surgeries. As you can see, I've had to deal with complications and a lot of insecurity. All I'm doing here is to share my story and the in and out of my decision. Since around Christmas, my neighbors have been doing their home extension project. So I've been struggling to find the right time to do a sit down video because of the noise. I've also been intentionally cutting out my face during filming because of obvious reason. To be honest, it has been lovely to be able to show you more about my life and my wardrobe. But I do miss these kind of sit down videos where I can just have a chit chat with you guys. So I'm really hoping to get back into my routine when I look a bit more visually pleasing. So wish me luck. I also really appreciate any word of encouragement. As always, thank you for being here and I hope to see you soon.